Good Friday afternoon, evening, where you going to be. Victor, good to see you.
Hey,
Does
how
it
you
seem
doing?
like this is the first time we've seen each other since last week, right?
Uh, yeah, I mean, if you ignore 5 other times we've seen this week, this is the first one, yes.
I think I've seen you more than I've seen my wife this week. It's been a busy week, which is always good. Hi, by the way, my name is Darren. This over here is Victor, and we are we're the co-host
Yes,
of a
that's
podcast called DevOps Paradox. Wow, that is Friday for you. And on Fridays, we do this live stream if we're around. By the way, Victor, a little bit of fourth wall. I got to be done by 45 because I have a meeting at the top of
okay.
the next hour that I got to get ready for. So
So why
ev-
don't you speak faster? Go,
I,
go, go, go.
I can.
Don't stop.
Okay. Anyway. Karen, good to see you, Michael. And do you want to try that one?
T.
Lindeza?
Lindeza?
There we go. Great. Thanks, everybody, for being here with us live. We're just going to get into it because I do have a meeting I have to be at the beginning of the next hour and that I actually have to get ready for. See, that's the great thing about this. I get ready for this just for basically 167 hours prior to this. Right? I just whenever I throw something in, but now I've got to go get ready for a meeting. Let's take a look at the episode this week. By the way, I saw Victor was already drinking Coca-Cola, by the way. I have my lime. I'm just still not doing anything else. We had Patrick on for our 200th episode. Amazing. Right?
Yeah, I mean, Patrick is an amazing guy, and I'm impressed that every time we speak with him, he's into something else. He's living a dream.
Well, what was interesting, I think he was into 2 or 3 things since we talked to him last that he's already gone through.
Exactly.
He's like you, though. Right? But see, you found something that you're stuck on for right now. You used to be like Patrick a lot more.
Yeah.
Changing things in and out.
That's, when I grow up, I will be like Patrick again.
We all wish. Bill, good to see you. Stefan, good to see you as well. I don't know if you caught this at the end. Victor, you probably don't even remember. The 250th episode will fall on February 14th, 2024. So it'll be Valentine's Day when that one comes out.
And Valentine's, okay.
Valentine's
Okay.
Day. So anyway, that's all we'll say that. We're not going
That's
to talk
the
about...
day when the guy was thrown to lions or something like that, right?
Maybe. I don't know. Whenever I hear St. Valentine, I think of Valentine's Day Massacre. So, which is a U.S. thing.
Okay, I think it was something related with the Roman Empire
Could be.
and things
Well, there is a
that.
Saint Valentine, so I just don't know the storyline. So, anyway, if you haven't listened to this, we're not going to talk about anything else about it. Go listen to it. Anytime Patrick is on, it's always worth listening to. And in fact, if you're ever wondering about which ones Patrick's are on, all you have to do is divide by 50. So he was on
Exactly.
50, 100, 150, and now 200. He wasn't on 0 because there technically is a 0, but it's like a 30-second commercial. So he wasn't on that one. Take a listen to it. Patrick's always good. All right. News this week. Akamai bought Ondat. Now, we had Ondat on last May, in May of 2022. I think the
Yeah.
gentleman we had on is no longer with Ondat. But
No.
he left. Okay. I think this is interesting. What do you think of this first, and then I'll give you my 2 cents.
Yeah, I don't know much about Akamai, so no.
They're a global CDN.
Okay.
They were the very first CDN before there was Fastly, before there was Cachefly, before there was even CloudFront on AWS. There was Akamai.
So they're extending to storage now. Huh?
Well, remember they bought Linode.
Okay. Now the wheels are turning. Okay. Oh, yeah, if they have Linode, yeah, then Ondat makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense. Yes.
Because Akamai already has their data centers. They have a lot, almost said a bad word, a lot of edge locations. If you can get, and Linode is expanding into those, not all of them, but into different locations. They had a press release about that earlier this week. LKE, you liked in general, right? I mean, it was fine. fine to good, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now you got the power of Akamai, the foundation of Akamai that you're now living on, and with Ondat being distributed storage effectively, what does that really mean? That's where I'm thinking.
Storage with Linode.
With Linux, that's what I'm thinking. I'm seeing LKE becoming a much bigger player now.
Yeah.
I might be reading too much into it, but that's what it feels like.
I think that one of the mistakes people make is try to compare Linode and similar providers like DigitalOcean, like to AWS, and hey, they will never catch up. And that's not the game at all. Cloud pie is growing so fast that even if you have a tiny, tiny, tiny piece of it, it's extremely lucrative. So, yeah. It's a different category, let's put it that way, than hyperscalers, right?
Yeah, I don't think Linode could have built the network that Akamai has had for more than 2 decades now.
Yep.
So I'm waiting for the announcement of how this gets rolled in. That's what I want to see. To me, this seems like a very small announcement. Or to other people, it may seem like a small announcement. I actually think this is the first shot across the bow to the DOs and others that have these single node, not single node, but smaller offerings for Kubernetes. That's my gut feel right now.
The question is really whether something similar will be happening with others, whether DigitalOcean will be acquired, whether Cibo will be acquired. That will be interesting to see.
Yeah. So anyway.
But then, if you think about it, then the next logical step for Akamai could be something like Fly.io, right? Let's bring applications into the mix.
Right, because Linode has... They have a PaaS, but it's not as, in my opinion, feature-rich as Fly is.
Yeah, it's not there. No.
That would be interesting. So anyway, expect consolidation. This is the thing I've seen just in general ramblings. Expect a lot of consolidation in 2023 and probably 2024.
Especially now that raising money is extremely difficult.
Hard.
So I expect actually the number of acquisitions to increase.
By the big guys, whoever the big guy may be in an area.
Exactly. Yeah. Those who do have capital do not require VC money, but instead have capital to actually purchase stuff.
Right. Or even if Akamai didn't have it, Akamai has been around long enough to probably get favorable terms for any kind of servicing they would need to get. So, I don't know. I will say, full disclosure, I am a Akamai stockholder. I have 8 shares. 8. Count them 8. I paid for them, and I went back through my, when I actually bought them, it was 2003, if I remember right. I need to double check it again one more time, because anytime I talk Akamai, I want to make sure that I'm in, I talk about a long-term buy and hold. Yeah, that's what I am with Akamai. 8 shares of them. So, all right. Let's go over to the CNCF. I missed this post back in January. I don't know how I missed it. Well, actually I do, because there's a lot of stuff that comes through my feed. But what was interesting to me is they were taking a look at the top projects of CNCF, of Linux Foundation, and then just top overall 30 open source projects.
Okay.
So down the left-hand side, this is CNCF projects. Kubernetes, not surprising, right, for CNCF. That's number 1 by far. And these numbers, so there are actually, if you'll notice here, there is an interactive map link that will take you to, it's funny, it says interactive map. It's actually a Google Sheet that's not really an interactive map, but it's a Google Sheet.
But what is the top? The stars or contribute? What's the
contributors?
Do you know what the number is? Contributors.
The number is contributors.
Yep.
So this is interesting. So if that's the only metric you're using, I think it's a fine metric. I don't know that it's the final metric, in my opinion. But it's a good place to start. So Kubernetes, OpenTelemetry, Argo, Backstage, gRPC, Prometheus, Envoy, Cilium, whatever. We knew Kubernetes was number 1, but now having OpenTelemetry at number 2 is big, big, big. If you're not thinking OpenTelemetry right now, you're almost too late.
Because, those contributions are actually reflecting interest of different companies into those projects, right? If you look at that list, there is a clear relation between the contributions and how much software vendors have interest in those projects. That's what explains OpenTelemetry being just behind Kubernetes. Almost every observability type of company right now has strong interests in it.
And there are a lot of them. So.
Oh yeah.
And Argo at 3, which is fine. It's interesting to see Backstage at number 4, but not really if you understand the project. So that was
I wouldn't be
CNCF.
surprised that Backstage a year or two ago was not on that list.
Not on the
first.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go down to Linux Foundation. So number 1 at Linux Foundation, very not surprisingly, is Linux itself. Right? That would make sense. Kubernetes right behind it, OpenTelemetry there. Argo right behind that. So the top 3 from CNCF are 2, 3, and 4. And you can't really, to me, it's still 1, 2, and 3 because Linux is Linux. You can't couch yourself in your own foundation. Right? It's a funny joke, not really. But then down here towards the bottom, and of course you can't see my mouse, is Jenkins right below Backstage.
Yeah.
The much loved Jenkins. Still right
It's
there.
amazing to see how Jenkins is kicking tires.
Still after 18, 19 years.
Exactly. I mean, the Jenkins might be actually the project that has the longest history on that list. In a positive sense.
I think Linux.
Cloud
I think
Foundry
Linux.
came afterwards.
Yeah, I think Linux is probably.
Okay, Linux. Yeah,
Yeah.
True.
And the only one I was questioning was Node.js, but I don't think that was. I don't know when that started, but I don't believe it was.
I don't remember working with
was-
Node.js when I started working with Jenkins. And I started
Yeah.
working with Jenkins very, very early.
Yeah. So then let's go down just to the top 30 projects. And this was for the 2020 calendar year. Linux, again, not surprising. PyTorch, data. React, sad face. Kubernetes. Solana, which is blockchain. And then Homebrew. Homebrew, man. Top project. I think that's sweet. The NixOS and then
That's very surprising.
the Homebrew is that
I
high?
thought that, that if it would be usage,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised at all because every vendor, every project, or every second needs packages it as Homebrew. But I thought that Homebrew would be more or less not a project with a lot of things going on because how much do you change a package manager, right?
The only thing I can figure is this is numbers. So every person that creates a package that Homebrew is going to distribute
Okay.
is potentially
Maybe
or
that
at least the
information
official,
is-
right? Yeah.
Maybe that I don't know how Homebrew works. Maybe it keeps that in Git as well.
It does.
If it does, okay, then
it
that
does.
explains it perfectly. Yeah.
But the only language we've seen here, because I don't count React as a language, it's a framework. Rust is the only language I've seen out of all
Yeah.
these.
And
So-
Rust is growing tremendously fast.
And it is not a fun language to learn quickly. I'll put it that way. So anyway, that was from January. That was CNCF. One other thing from CNCF that was actually this week, we've had Phil Estes on before. He used to be at IBM. Now he's at AWS. I think he's still at AWS.
Who? Adam or Phil?
Phil Estes, he's...
Yeah, Phil is in AWS. Or it
AWS.
was last time. Yeah.
Yeah. So they just went through a containerd fuzzing audit. Not just a containerd audit, but a fuzzing audit. Fuzzing is where you do weird things with your tests dynamically. Fuzzing is a lot of fun if you can learn it. So they go through the whole audit, but here was the interesting thing. I'm just going to go down to the bottom since we're running a little tight on time today. Found issues. The fuzzers found 4 unique issues during the audit. 4. Count them, 4. 3 of those were in container D itself, and only 1 was a third-party dependency. All issues have already been fixed. The summary, only finding 4 issues from 28 different fuzzers. 4 issues from 28 different. So that's like, to me, sitting down. I don't know if this is what it is, but this is the way I think about it. If I'm scanning an image, I'm going to use Sift. Wait, am I using Sift? I'm using Sift. I'm using Trivy. I'm using other commercial offerings. I'm going through, because you're always going to get different answers. You'll get a lot of overlap, but you'll get some different answers. So if they went through 28 different fuzzing services, if you will, and only came up with 4, that's amazing. And really only 3, because you shouldn't count the dependency, even though you have to.
I remember going through containerd code in its early days, and it was beautiful, man. Absolutely beautiful. So I'm not really surprised that they didn't find much.
So that's containerd completes their audit. Sysdig came out this week with millions, I tell you, wasted on Kubernetes resources.
Hey, according to the size of Kubernetes, I would expect billions.
Well, let's go there for just a second. So you can actually download the full report. If you click into download the full report, what will happen is you'll actually get an interactive. So you could do the interactive. We're not going to do that today. But you can also download the full thing if you want to. But let's get into where they start at. Limits and requests. That's what they start with. The study shows 49% of containers have no memory limit set and 59% have no CPU limit set.
There is a debate how useful CPU
Right.
limits are, so I can understand the higher figure for that. But man, 50% of people not using memory limits or CPU limits, that's... we should be
because
ashamed.
They just don't know?
I think it's more that simply it's not absolutely necessary and still people go with the least possible effort. And that's probably one of the first things I would define outside of this is absolute necessity for something to run.
Well, I mean, it's... I don't know. It's just silly to me because, yeah, CPU can be whatever, but sure. Okay, anyway.
It's very easy and straightforward to see how much your application consumes in memory and CPU. I understand that the first time you deploy your application, release 1, you don't know, I don't know, nobody knows. I understand it completely. We all put random numbers or no numbers at all, but give it a week and there is no excuse.
Okay, I'm not going to be as conservative with you on that one. I'll give it a month. Let's just give it time to run. Just give it time to run.
Let it be a month, exactly, whatever.
I mean, if you can get it in a week, that's great. But, yeah, a week feels a little too quick.
Now, part of the reasons for that is, of course, because people do not set memory and CPU limits. But you would be surprised how many third-party apps do not have it either. And for that, I have more excuses because I expect when I do Helm install that I do not need to bother with those things, at least not as much as with my applications. Oh,
well, that's what
Engin's
saying this, right?
Exactly.
They should set it. Now, all your Helm charts always have limits set, right?
Because it's a very different thing when you say, hey, I'm still confused, I don't know what I'm doing and stuff like that. But when we talk about third-party apps, we're talking about companies who do that for a living. That's their job. So zero excuse for third-party apps not setting memory and CPU limits, and requested resources. What is curious about that is that it speaks about limits but not requests.
I noticed that. The I don't understand why they didn't, because request is, to me, the safer of the two, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know what to put to limits, put double of requests,
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying that that's a good practice, but hey, just throw the
It's a
dice,
start.
double.
Just
Exactly.
yeah.
It uses 5 gigs right now, put 10,
Right.
and, unused memory and in Kubernetes, that's mostly due to requests, not due to limits, right? Because Kubernetes looks at requests first.
I agree with that. I'm going to jump to Karen's here real quick. What's a practical way to determine? You have to run it.
Prometheus.
Well, let's say you have to run it and collect the data.
Exactly. And
There's no other way.
Not all Kubernetes clusters have it, but many do. Just Kubectl top pods after a while. So whether it's a week or a month, Kubectl top pods. It's not the best way because you see only the current usage. It's much better to go to Prometheus and see the history of memory, CPU usage. But hey, if you want a quick hack, just Kubectl get pods, top pods, and that's it.
If we take a look, let's get off that because we could probably talk there for how long? Hours? Which would be the waste of Kubernetes, right? We'll be talking about the waste of that. So over allocation, again, not real surprising, unused requested CPU and requested RAM. Now these are the number of nodes at the bottom. So 0 to 50, you're over provisioning by 80% CPU and over provisioning by 20% RAM. Okay, RAM doesn't bug me a whole lot. I like having 20% overhead in RAM all the time, just in case. CPU, that seems a little aggressive, but then you get up to the 1,000 nodes. And notice how, other than this one little bump at the start, how basically the RAM keeps growing over time. That gets us to an almost next chart. The report showed that companies with more than 1,000 nodes could reduce their wasted resources by 10 million a year. 10 million.
But you know what's another big problem? Apart from you wasting money like crazy, apart from that, is that I did say that many third-party apps do not set memory requests and limits, but some do. And excluding maybe databases and a few other things, you most likely is less critical to run third-party apps than your own apps, right? And guess which app is going to be kicked out first? A third-party app with default memory requests and limits, or your app without any of those things? Your app goes out.
Goes out, period.
The moment there is no sufficient memory and CPU on that node. Goes out first.
And this is where the Kyvernos and any other OPA, if they've already got something applied on there, it's like, you can't install unless you have at least set. Doesn't mean it has to be right, but it's got to be set.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. If you don't set it up, you will have more time will pass until you detect an issue with that and fix it, right? Even if you set it incorrectly, that will give you an indication. Hey, something's going on. My pod has no sufficient memory. Okay, you didn't put enough, right? And things like that. Even a wrong number is better than no number there.
Okay, let's go down CPU overcommitment, and then they get into the cost reduction strategies. Of course, the answer is to use their product.
Okay, so the previous question, how to solve it, I answered wrongly when I said Prometheus. Sysdig.
Oh, okay. But, well, it boils down to you got to run it, you got to track the data, and then go. And by the way, once you set those numbers, it's trust but verify over time. unless
Oh, yeah.
that app never changes. If you've installed the app and you never have to upgrade it ever, then that number is going to 99.9% be okay.
Exactly.
Right? But as soon as you do an upgrade, things could change. Case in
Oh,
point
yeah.
may be you put
necessarily
caching
even-
in container, right?
Not necessarily even upgrade. The increase in workloads, increase in number of requests, memory leaks, 1,000 different reasons why the number from yesterday is not correct today.
So anyway, Sysdig report. Links to everything will be down in the description probably later tonight, my time. Secret scanning alerts are now available and free in public repositories. Have you turned this on yet for your org? Brand new.
I'm always confused with GitHub. I don't know what's really new and what's new not.
Yeah, I know.
I was sure that we had that forever.
It may, well, you may have had it, but it was beta before this. So now
Okay,
it's
that's
anything
possible,
that's, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I'm one of those who turns on experimental feature first
Yep.
and then sees what it is.
Yep, so you go to code security and analysis and then go down to secret scanning and then click on enable. Real hard.
Very cool.
All right. Let's get into some tools, I think. Yes. KWOK. Kubernetes without Kubelet. What do I say now?
Okay.
Have you ever wondered how to set up a cluster of 1,000 nodes in just seconds? How to simulate real nodes with a low resource footprint. And finally, how to test your Kubernetes controller at scale without spending much on infrastructure. This is basically a virtualization. So if you go down to the bottom here, here's what happens. So you create a, on this, it's at the bottom. So here we go. So let's get started with KWOK-CTL. By the way, I've been seeing this pattern play out recently in people recording things. They do a hash and then they type in. Genius. I got to start doing that.
Oh, yeah.
So you create a cluster. You get the clusters. Switch into the context. You create a node, which is a fake node. And then you go off and get all nodes. So then you see the node. It's all about creating simulated clusters. What do you want to do? Add a deployment.
Nice.
It's a fake deployment. I'm still trying to get my head around it. I could think of this is the way to validate, if you will, I guess, some use cases, but it's just hitting APIs, right? It's using kubectl, or excuse me, using Kubelet without having Kubelet there.
Yeah.
It feels local stackish to me. Just the concept, right?
Yeah, Kubelet is the one that registers nodes, so probably they do some magic without it or something
Yeah.
like that.
So anyway, there was somebody from Dow Cloud and 2 people from Apple working on this.
Nice.
So interesting there. OpenKruise, I got something from Ari about this, and I had seen it earlier in the week. OpenKruise is now an incubating project from Sandbox. Have you looked at OpenKruise yet?
Not yet.
Is it
not
on your
the
list? Okay.
It's on the list for choose your own adventure, yes.
Okay. I haven't looked at it yet, other than seeing that it came through and saw it was incubating. So I guess we'll be seeing you talk about it at some point.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. So incubating. This I thought was interesting. This came out from Google. It's only for Go at this point.
Okay.
Called Service Weaver. Check this out. An open source framework for building and deploying distributed applications. Okay, so what? Here's the so what. It allows you to write your application as a modular monolith and then deploy it as a set of microservices.
Okay, that settles the all discussion of monorepo or not.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
This is looking, so this wire diagram here in the middle is, here's all the things you're doing at the top, which I can't highlight because it's just a single image. You get microservices, and then you can deploy it wherever you set up your targets. So they get into the reasons why they're building it. Here's just the interface. So it's a modular monolith, which, great. Now I got another monolith word to learn.
So,
But
it all depends on what is the goal somebody has behind microservices. If the goal is scalability, this sounds absolutely amazing. If the goal is how can different teams work on applications independently of others, then not necessarily.
Yeah. I'm trying to get down to the point to where, anyway, so here it is. So you could say, here's your application, and then you just say where to go run it. You slice it up and let it go run.
Very, very interesting.
Only go at this point. You can either run locally or on GKE for now. Again, it's a 0.1. Fine with that.
Yeah.
And a set of APIs that let you write your own deployers for any other platform. So they're already getting it opened up. And it's under Apache 2. And be aware that we are likely to introduce breaking changes until 1.
That's
Great.
what versioning is for.
But I also appreciate them spelling it out.
Yeah.
Because now they can point back to this. It's like, look, we told you.
Exactly.
We told you. Okay, that's Service Weaver. Kluctl? Sure, why not? It's the missing glue. Glue. Who knows? Okay. Remember, you're an engineer. You are not a marketer. Don't try to name things. It allows you to declare and manage small, large, simple, and or complex multi-environment or multi-cluster deployments. Basically, single CTL or single CLI to get everything done. We've seen variations of this, but it has native Git support integrated. Okay. Makes me happy. Multiple environments, multiple clusters, Helm and customize. And they do some comparisons. And off it goes.
For the life of me, I cannot remember. I had a session. Somebody was showing me this, and now I cannot remember.
Don't remember?
when or who.
Okay.
Yep.
That popped up on my radar. It's been around for a while, but I hadn't seen it before. This one is my happy place. This is from the Defense Unicorns. So it's part of the U.S. military machine.
Mm-hmm.
Zarf. Now, you know how much I love cloud-ish. But I keep fighting for the air gap people. That's what we're talking about here. This is for air gap. It is really hard to install something from the internet when you're air gapped.
Very frustrating.
Meaning impossible. It's not just hard, it's impossible. So what it does, Zarf gives you automated Kubernetes deployments in disconnected, automated SBOMs, fancy words, a web dashboard for SBOM output. It's got Loki built in using Gitty, K9S, Flux. I mean, it's got everything. So if you need to be off-grid, you might want to look at Zarf.
Yeah.
Your taxpayer dollars in the U.S. at work. I'm okay with that. Okay, that is Zarf. Okay, Jpath. I debated on whether to leave this one in or not.
Okay.
So it's JQ-ish. JQ is great until it's not.
It can get tricky easily.
Right. So the reason why they did this is sometimes it's very difficult to figure out the path of a key. Right? That is hard. So simple file, if you run Jpath against it, it's going to break it out with this visualization.
That's cool. I like that.
That's the reason why I left this in, because this is why it's hard with J. You can't do this with JQ, at least not in a sane way.
I cannot say I care much about it in the first place, but now I want Jpath.
Right.
That's what I want. Yeah.
easy enough. And then once you have this, then you can just do grep, right? And find, okay, I'm looking for, in this case down here, Bob.
Yeah,
Right? So
exactly.
then it's just normal tools. So basically being able to completely flatten it out in an array view makes it a little more easy to work with.
I want Jpath.
Jpath.
Yeah.
Well, you can write it. It's, just fork this and change it to Jpath. You can tell it's not a very large project.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be, I mean, it's not really tough.
Actually,
just
you are a
kind
go.
of like load YAML into a map and iterate through all the keys and show them. That's it.
Well, all he's doing is encode. Is there an encoding YAML in Go?
Yeah, yes.
So basically all you need to do is do a PR against this, put in an encoding YAML, and it all works the same?
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, probably very minimal changes are required. Very cool. I like this.
Then you can put
That's
the PR
my
in
choice
this
of
weekend.
the week so far.
I think this will end up being number 2 before it's all said and done.
Okay.
Otterize, it's a network mapper. We've been seeing some other network mappers recently, but basically you run it and it will draw out your mapping of all the services running.
Yeah. I have
Okay.
the impression that this is, I know at least 20 companies that are working independently of each other on precisely that. Everybody's doing this now.
Yeah, it's just another one that's there. Here's an interesting one from AWS samples. So this would mean you would need an AWS account, you would need credentials, you need the whole thing. But I thought it was interesting. And unfortunately, they don't show a picture of it here. So masking words and images. So sometimes you like to put the bar over the top of a word, right? Redaction, where you're trying to do a redaction. Well, now you can feed it a list of the words you want to block out, and then you point it at the image, and it will take care of that automatically for you. But it's using recognition and textract under the hood to do it, along with
It's
comprehension.
machine learning. It should be 2
Yeah.
steps. Here are all the words in your image. Now tell me which ones you want to mask.
Right. Flip it around the other way. Right. But anyway, I thought this was interesting. I don't do a whole lot with this, but maybe in the future again. Kubefirst. Have you heard of this? Is this on your list?
No. What is it?
It's a GitOps infrastructure and application delivery platform. It's a cloud provisioning tool. Okay.
Okay.
Simple setup, 2 CLIs. We create a Kubernetes cluster managed with automated IAC, GitOps asset management, application delivery secrets management, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Let's go look at the picture. So what you first have to do is you have to set up DNS for what you're going to need, right? Just sort of the basics. But then it will take care of doing all of the subdomains for you automatically.
Okay.
So
This is nice.
here's the picture.
Initially, I thought that they would reinvent the wheel and kind of like, oh, we build a tool for all those things. But this is bootstrapping cool stuff. Nice.
This is, and forgive me and correct me, but this top picture here, this is basically what they're doing for you. They create their cluster. Much like, help me, Crossplane does, right? There's a
Crossplane,
Crossplane
exactly.
cluster, right?
Exactly.
There's this control cluster, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
then goes off and does all the things. So if you see here, Argo CD ends up in, or at least, Argo CD ends up here, which then takes care of doing the things, which then through Terraform does this, then whatever.
I'm guessing that the first one gets eliminated later.
I'm not sure.
This looks
That would
very
make sense though,
similar
right? Because if you look
to
at,
me conceptually like Tanzu installer. I don't know if you ever tried it.
I have not.
So Tanzu essentially spins up a Docker container, Docker, and then uses that container to run Tanzu
Bootstrap it.
something that will create a cluster, and then you delete that container, right? You're done.
Right.
It's a bootstrapping method of temporary nature. I don't know whether that's what this is doing, but it looks like that.
If you take a look at it, basically So you have the your account. So follow this. This is sort of weird. You have the your account in the upper left hand corner, to where you just do the create. You can't see the mouse. I wish I could. I can't highlight either. But then this arrow going to the right. Now this is your account. It's hydrated. That's what the upper right hand corner is. And then further down, following the Argo CD GetOps, now your account has got even more stuff in it.
Yep.
And then it keeps on growing. So it doesn't remove it. It looks like, because if you notice at the top of the Kubernetes section, it says the Kubefirst cluster.
Yep.
Right. So it's basically just been growing as time has moved along.
Ah, okay. I thought it starts locally and then moves to AWS.
I don't
You're
think
right, you're right.
so.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
regardless, it's very interesting.
Very cool.
Yep. So that's
Very
Kubefirst. But this isn't, and you can see it's hockey sticked since about August of last year. Gee, what happened in August of 2022? Well, it wasn't. Actually, it wasn't KubeCon. I was thinking it was KubeCon, but no, that's like here.
It was October-ish.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's still pretty much on the same trajectory from October, so I don't know what happened there. Anyway, that's just stars. And the scale is only 400, so regardless. But this isn't the one that I thought you would like best. Here's what I think you're going to like best.
For last. Okay.
I think so. So just as a reminder, your favorite, by the way, before we get to it, Luke says, I love Zarf, use it all the time for air gap. He works with, go figure, government clients. What you liked was JSON Path so far, Jpath, right? This is your current number one. Let me see if I can top it. HMM, Hacker Mindmap. It is a command line version for building mind maps. Have you ever built mind maps before using mind map software?
I tried a couple of times and they don't fit my brain somehow.
Okay, fair enough. Now, here's what you're going to hate about this. It's all PHP.
Okay. Next.
But, it comes in a container image. So you shouldn't care.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the deal. Here's the reason why I know it doesn't fit your brain, but there's probably some times to where it could be useful to do, do that fan out, right? To see left to right. Here's where I think you'll like it. There's the file you create. Put it in Git, pull in that image, run it against the file, and you can get output of HTML.
You know what I'm going to say next, right?
No, go ahead.
I want it to be similar to, what's the name of that dashboard thingy? Mermaid.
Oh, Mermaid.
That I can if I could embed it in
this.
my markdowns, oh man, then I would be sold.
Can Mermaid do mind maps?
No, not my maps, but I mean like Mermaid that I just...
No. Yeah, you just put it in and it acts like Mermaid. Right.
Yeah.
But then my question was, can Mermaid do mind maps? I don't remember if that's something you could play out. Or I don't know that it would visualize it this way.
It does. It wouldn't... I said no first because visualization wouldn't be exactly like that. But Mermaid is all about disconnect to that. One-to-one, one-to-many and things like that. So yes.
Okay. So I struck out today. So Jpath was still your favorite for today. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
I did not think about Mermaid in this context. Now I do. Now I'm going to do this with Mermaid, yes.
See what happens. Okay. We're going to run through these last couple here at the end. You were talking about Cilium.
Yes.
But the interesting thing about this, if you'll notice from the screen grab, is this was when you were in Florida. And you were trying to be like a cool YouTuber.
Yeah, I'm experimenting, kind of combining me exploring a city where I travel and record at the same time. So it's kind of like walking, talking type of stuff. The one coming next Monday is same style, and I'm now trying to deduce whether that's something that is okay for people or no. If I get more positive feedback, then I will probably do that more often.
Not all the time, just more often.
First of all, I'm not going to do it in winter. period.
You'll do it
It's
in
not
winter
a
sitting by a
coincidence.
fireplace, right?
Huh?
You'll do it in winter sitting by a fireplace.
Exactly.
With
Maybe
your
in a
mug.
ski
And,
lodge.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, ski lodge, that could be, yeah, but not outside. But especially since when the summer comes, I'm in the undisclosed location. So I'm planning, and I was planning for this summer actually to finish studio in that house. As you probably know, the acoustics in that room are absolutely horrible, horrible, horrible. But then I thought, hey, maybe I don't need a studio. Maybe I should just record outside.
Because I imagine just the beauty of that area would be a whole lot better than
Yeah.
a studio anyway.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Plus, you need to get out and walk some more, so why not? Just, it's a 2-for-1. It's not multitasking, you're just getting a 2-for-1. Okay, so that was anyway, eBPF and Cilium. We've got to do some more serious stuff about eBPF. That's
Yeah.
like
Next
like
week
a,
is
a nuts and
eBPF
bolts.
again.
It is.
Next
Okay.
Monday, again.
All right. And then this week with Whitney, you are using cert-manager. So
Yes.
how far down the path have we gone?
Building images, pushing them to registry, defining images, customize helmets, so on and so forth, and HTTPS. I might have missed some, but so 4 or 5.
That sounds about right. Yep.
The next one is going to be databases.
Ooh.
Ooh. Ooh.
I want to go back to one of Bill's questions earlier. I want to see if we can answer it or not in just a couple of minutes. REST services use JWTs as standard for authorizing users. Yes. In an async architecture, does the user being able to push to a queue mean the same?
So if it's Kubernetes, I'm so hooked on Kubernetes that I don't have the
Yeah.
answer outside. But in Kubernetes, that's relatively straightforward. That's basically network policies. So it's, I guess it's a typo, right? It's not about user being able to push to queue, but whether a specific application can push to specific place, right? I'm guessing.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Now, if it's a user that enters the application, then whether that user should push to the queue, I never even contemplated something like that.
Okay. So I'm not sure. My gut feel is yes, but because when you're talking async services and a user, I'm sorry, there isn't async anytime you involve a user. A user is always synchronous. The whole flow may not be synchronous, but to get that data, that's synchronous. You got to put it in
I'm
there.
guessing it's something like a user goes to a website, creates something in a
If it's disconnected,
shopping cart, and then they go somewhere. I still never tried to do it on a user level. I mean, you can, right? You have policies, network policies defined. You can get it from a header.
So here,
Or it
look
is
at what
about
Bill
user-
put in here. It's about the user having the rights in fully async using WebSockets. That's different. Okay. That's the part I didn't catch. So if it's WebSockets, then yeah, you're going to have to be authed. And JWT is the answer, unfortunately, for that.
Yeah,
I think, right?
that
Because
I haven't tried.
if you've got a
I
persistent
don't know.
connection, that's, even though yes, it is async, to me, it's still, persistence to me means synchronous, even if it's not synchronous. So I treat it like synchronous anytime I have a persistent connection. That's how I
Still,
think.
I would check networking, network policies.
Ingen voted on the walk around style. He likes it, so that's good. That's good. I do have a meeting I have to be prepared for in 10 minutes. So I got to split. So what's happening next week? Video on Monday.
Monday video. Tuesday,
It's Whitney
choose your own adventure.
with Whitney.
Wednesday, podcast.
Yep. Thursday AMA.
I don't think I have anything scheduled,
Okay.
so maybe not Thursday.
And then Friday. We're back.
Man, if there is AMA, then we have something for every single day of the week.
Yeah.
Man, we need to retire.
I wish we could. That's a different conversation for another day.
Actually, I do have, every once in a while, somebody calls me and, hey, let's do something together. And I'm always interested and I want to do those things. But then if that something is not a fit for one of those 5 that we're doing, I have to answer kind of like, I cannot. I like you. I want to. I can't.
Trying to figure out how to say no. Yeah, it's just like, you don't want to say no.
This week we recorded like 4 podcasts.
4 podcasts this week, which was insane. We had 3 scheduled and we had a reschedule in for Monday, which was
4 podcasts recorded, 4 live events.
live streams. Yep.
Live streams, and there's still daily real job to be done, right?
And speaking of which, 10 minutes, that's where I have to be. So thanks, everybody. Let's try Luke's question real quick. What are your thoughts on integration testing for Kubernetes? Jenkins, AWS, Helm for deployments. How do you manage the clusters?
I'm biased.
Say it. Say it.
Crossplane. Crossplane. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I mean, I'm biased. I work for Crossplane, but
okay.
any solution. We have Engin here from Pulumi. Pulumi is a great choice. We have Terraform.
Could this KWOK, could this be part of that story now?
Maybe. I just need. I need to try it.
I mean, we don't know, but just thinking through, it's like if you're trying to do integration testing, well, if this is sort of like local stack. And you can really, again, to me, it's like, okay, what does integration for Kubernetes mean in Luke's context? And I don't know. And unfortunately, I've got to run. We tried, Luke. I'm sorry. It's one of those days that have to be in a meeting. So thanks, everybody. We will see you again pretty much every darn day next week. So
that's the thing.
All right. By the way, the pollen is coming in right now. So I might be like the Hulk next week and just be covered in pollen. If you live in the southern United States, you know what I mean. Have a great weekend, everybody.